I'm Margaret. I'm 83 years old, and 3 years ago I made a decision that horrified everyone who knew me. I changed my will. I cut my children out completely. Every dollar I'd saved, every asset I had gone. Not to them, to strangers. My daughter called me cruel. My son threatened to have me evaluated for dementia. My youngest stopped speaking to me entirely. But let me tell you what nobody warns you about when you're raising children. You can give so much, sacrifice so deeply that you become furniture, useful, expected, invisible. And one day you wake up and realize they only call when they need something. Or worse, they don't call at all. I raised 3 children, fed them, clothed them, gave them everything I had. And when I sold the house their father built and sent each of them a check for $8,000 as a Christmas gift, you know what I got back? A text message. Received. Thanks. That was it. So I did something I never imagined I'd do. And what happened after that changed everything. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, this is for you. Stay with me. There's a smell you don't forget. Coffee brewing at 5 a.m. The sound of the furnace kicking on in a dark house. The weight of a laundry basket against your hip. I was 44 years old, standing at the kitchen counter making 3 different lunches because each of my children had different preferences. The oldest wouldn't eat turkey. The middle one hated mustard. The youngest only wanted peanut butter, smooth, never crunchy. The kitchen was still dark, just the light over the sink and the radio playing softly. Richard was asleep. The kids were asleep. Just me and the counter and the bread and the routine I could do with my eyes closed. This is love, I thought. Hands that keep moving. Work nobody sees but everyone needs. I believed that. I believed a good mother gives everything. A good mother doesn't keep score. A good mother dies with empty hands and a full heart. I believed it for 40 years. When my daughter was 29, she called me crying from Chicago. She was a consultant doing well, but she couldn't afford childcare and had a major presentation coming up. I got on a bus, 6 hours. I stayed on her couch for 8 weeks taking care of my grandson. I didn't complain. Her apartment smelled like expensive candles and takeout. The couch had a broken spring that dug into my back every night. I could hear traffic through the wall, sirens, voices. I was used to silence. I folded her laundry while she practiced her pitch in the mirror. I made meals she barely touched because she was too stressed to eat. She needs me, I thought. This is what purpose feels like. When you're needed, you exist. When she finally landed the account, she took me to brunch, thanked me, posted a photo on Facebook. Couldn't have done it without the best mom in the world with a heart emoji. I thought that was payment enough. 12 years before that, we had a perfect Christmas. My table was full. 3 children, 6 grandchildren. Richard still alive, still laughing, still squeezing my hand under the table when he thought no one was looking. I'd cooked for 2 days. Turkey, stuffing, pies, rolls. Everyone was loud and happy and alive. My son-in-law spilled gravy. I laughed. I wiped it up with the edge of my apron. The kids were sticky and wild, and I didn't care. This, I thought, this is what I was promised. Look what I built. Look how much they need me to make this magic happen. I was the center. I was essential. But photos lie. Richard died when I was 68. It was fast. A stroke in the garden. The funeral was big. My children came. They stayed 3 days. Then they left, and the house was silent in a way it had never been before. I sat in his chair. It still smelled like him, old spice and sawdust, though he hadn't worked with wood in years. The house made sounds I'd never noticed. The refrigerator humming, the clock ticking, the neighbor's dog barking. I made coffee for 2 out of habit. Then I poured half of it down the sink. They'll come back, I thought. They're just busy. It's only been a week. 2 weeks, a month. My 72nd birthday. I waited all day for a phone call. At 9 p.m., my son sent a text. Happy birthday, Ma. Sorry. Crazy day. Love you. My daughter posted on my Facebook wall. My youngest didn't acknowledge it at all. I sat at the kitchen table with a cake I'd bought for myself. I didn't cut it. The cake was from the grocery store. vanilla with plastic roses. I had one candle I didn't light. The fork felt cheap in my hand. I could hear my neighbors through the wall. Their TV, their laughter. My phone sat face up on the table. The screen stayed dark. I raised them wrong, I thought. I made them too comfortable. Or maybe I was only valuable when I was useful. 6 months later, my son called. Finally. He sounded nervous. His business was struggling. He needed $4,000. I had it. From selling Richard's truck. I said yes before he finished asking. He came to pick up the check. He stayed 17 minutes. Hugged me. Said, "You're the best, Mom." Then he left. I watched him from the window walking to his car, phone already pressed to his ear. He didn't look back. The check sat on the table, my handwriting shaky, filling in the amount. He'll pay me back, I thought. No, not the money. The money didn't matter. He'd pay me back with time, with visits, with proof that I still mattered. But he didn't come back. And then I got sick. Pneumonia. I couldn't breathe right. Couldn't get out of bed. I called my daughter. Voicemail. I called my son. Voicemail. I called my youngest. Nothing. I called my neighbor, Linda. She drove me to the hospital in her beat-up Honda. I was there for 5 days. My children found out on day 3 because the hospital needed emergency contacts. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and overcooked vegetables. The IV needle hurt in my hand. The TV mounted on the wall played game shows I didn't follow. Linda sat with me, held my hand. My children arrived on day 4 with flowers, bought from the gift shop, still in the plastic. They didn't come because I was dying. They came because it would have looked bad if I died. I saw it then. I saw everything. I sold my house. That year, I moved into a small apartment to make things easier. I split the money 3 ways, $8,000 for each of them. I mailed the checks on Christmas Eve. On December 26th, I woke up to 3 messages, all identical. Received. Thanks. No calls. No visits. I sat in my new apartment. It was smaller, quieter. The walls were beige. There were boxes I hadn't unpacked yet. The checkbook was on the kitchen table. The carbon copies still attached, showing the amounts. My coffee went cold. Outside, I heard church bells. It was 10 a.m. My phone didn't ring again all day. I gave them the house their father built, the money I saved for 40 years, and I'm worth 3 words. Received. Thanks. I sat there a long time. The sunlight moved across the floor. I thought about my life, about the lunches, about the couch with the broken spring, about the cake I didn't cut, about Linda's hand in the hospital, and something inside me broke. Or maybe it fixed itself. I don't know which. On January 2nd, I made an appointment with a lawyer. The lawyer was a woman in her 40s. She listened while I explained. I want everything to go to a scholarship fund for girls in foster care, girls who aged out of the system with nothing. She paused. Are you sure? Your children. I'm sure. The office smelled like paper and air conditioning. There was a framed photo of the lawyer's family on her desk. Everyone smiling. I signed my name. Margaret Elaine Turner. The pen felt heavier than usual. My hand didn't shake. This isn't revenge, I thought. Revenge would mean I still need something from them. This is survival. I'm choosing to matter to someone. Even if they're strangers. Even if they're girls I'll never meet. I'm choosing to be remembered. I drove home slowly. The streets were quiet. January snow piled gray on the curbs. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt light. 7 weeks later, my daughter showed up unannounced, with groceries. She said she just wanted to check on me. Then my son. Then my youngest. Every week now. Like clockwork, they ask about my health. They ask about my plans. They don't ask about the will. But I see the question in their eyes. My daughter unpacks the groceries, things I don't buy. Organic this, imported that. She rearranges my small kitchen like it's hers. My son fixes the leaky faucet I never mentioned was broken. My youngest brings his kids who don't recognize me, who call me ma'am until he corrects them. I sit in my chair. I watch them. Ils servent tea. I listen to them talk about their lives, their jobs, their problems. Sometimes I feel guilty. Sometimes I feel powerful. Most of the time I feel quiet. I'll never know. I'll die not knowing if this is love or panic. And I've made peace with that. Not knowing is its own kind of freedom. I visit the scholarship office sometimes. There's a wall of photos. 14 girls so far. The coordinator shows me their files. One is studying to be a nurse, one an engineer, one a teacher. They're from places I know, small towns, foster homes, group homes. Girls who look like I did at 16, invisible, possible. The photos are printed on regular paper, pinned to a corkboard with thumbtacks. The girls smile in their school uniforms, some shy, some bold. The office smells like coffee and copier toner. The coordinator, a man in his 50s, shows me a thank you letter from one of the girls. The handwriting is careful, practiced. I read it. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did. I'm going to be the first in my family to graduate college. I'm going to make you proud. I close my eyes. I feel something in my chest I haven't felt in years. My children were raised by a ghost. I disappeared myself until there was nothing left. These girls are being raised by a woman who said I exist. That's the real inheritance. I go home. It's Tuesday afternoon. The light comes through the window in that golden way it does at 4 p.m. My daughter just left. She stayed an hour. We talked about her work, about her son's grades, about the weather. She hugged me when she left. I don't know if it was real. The apartment smells like the coffee I made, like the lavender soap I use. The checkbook is in a drawer now, empty, finished. On my table there's a postcard from the scholarship fund, a photo of this year's recipients, 12 girls in caps and gowns. The postcard has a coffee stain on the corner. I pick it up. I run my finger over the faces of the girls. I used to think the story ended with them coming back, with them realizing, with them apologizing. But that's not my story anymore. My story is this. I was invisible, and I chose to be seen, not by them, by me. That's enough. It has to be enough, and it is. You know what nobody tells you? That you can spend 60 years being a mother, a wife, a caretaker, and still not know how to be a person. I didn't know. Not until I was 80 and sitting in that lawyer's office and signing my name and feeling, for the first time in decades, like I had a right to make a choice that was mine. Not practical, not selfless, not what anyone expected. Mine. Actually, there's something I should mention. I wrote a book recently, called it The Freedom Code. Sounds dramatic, I know. But it's everything I learned about money, about wills, about protecting yourself when your family stops protecting you. I almost didn't publish it. Felt embarrassed. Felt like no one would care what an 83-year-old woman had to say. But then I got a letter from a woman named Diane. She's 76. She read an early draft. She said it saved her from signing over her house to her son, who hadn't visited in 4 years. Another woman, Carol, 81. She used the steps in the book to set up her own scholarship fund. She said she cried when she signed the papers because it was the first time in her life she'd done something just because she wanted to. I put the link in the pinned comment. It's digital. You can read it tonight if you want. I might take it down soon. Still not sure I'm brave enough to leave it up. But if you're sitting there right now wondering if you've given too much, if you've disappeared too far, it's there, if you need it. Anyway, yesterday my son came over, the oldest. He brought donuts from my favorite bakery. He sat in my small living room and told me about his work, about a promotion he might get. He talked for 20 minutes. I just listened. When he left, he kissed my forehead. He said, "I love you, Mom." I closed the door behind him. I stood there for a moment. I felt something. I don't know what. Not happiness, not sadness. Something simpler. Relief, maybe. Or just breathing. This morning, the coordinator called. One of the girls, the one studying nursing, graduated. First person in her family to finish college. She wants to meet me. She wants to thank me in person. I said yes. There's a photo of her they sent me. She's standing outside a clinic, rural health center in southern Illinois. She's wearing scrubs, smiling, but it's not a photo smile. It's the smile of someone who knows what it costs to get there. I see myself in that smile. The girl I was. The one who sewed until her fingers bled to pay for school. The one who walked 2 miles to the bus stop in the snow. The one nobody saw. That girl grew up and became invisible again, but in a different way. She became invisible because she chose to erase herself. For love, for duty, for fear. I don't blame my children for that. That's what's taken me the longest to understand. I don't blame them. I taught them not to see me. I gave them everything and never taught them that I was a person too, with needs, with limits, with a life of my own. I built the cage, and I had to be the one to break it. Does it still hurt? Yes. There are days my daughter hugs me goodbye and I want to cry. I want to ask her, would you have come if I hadn't changed the will? Would you have called? But I don't, because the answer doesn't change anything. There are days I look at old photos. The Christmas with the full table. The baptism of my first grandchild. Richard's birthday before he got sick. And I think that was real, and it was. But so is the cake I didn't cut. The hospital. The received. Thanks. Both things are true, and I can live with that now. Last week, Linda came over for coffee. We sat on my small balcony watching the street. She knows the whole story. She's the only one who knows. I told her about the will, about my children's visits, about the girls in foster care. She asked, do you regret it? I thought for a long time before I answered. No, I said. I don't regret loving them. I don't regret raising them. I regret losing myself along the way. But I fixed that. She nodded, sipped her coffee. Then she said something I won't forget. Love that doesn't respect you isn't love. It's habit. She was right. My children loved me. I'm sure of that. But they loved me the way you love an old chair. Useful, comfortable, always there. They never thought the chair could get tired. They never thought the chair could break. I'm 83 years old now. The time I have left is short. I know that. I feel it in my bones. But this time is mine. For the first time in decades, it's mine. I sit in my chair by the window. The afternoon sun comes in warm. I have the postcard of the girls in my hand, 12 faces smiling, 12 futures that wouldn't exist without my choice. I don't smile. I don't cry. I just breathe. In, out, and the breath feels like mine. For the first time in decades. If you're listening to this and you're tired and you've given until your hands are empty, I see you. I was you. This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about remembering that you're not just a mother, a grandmother, a caretaker. You're a person. And your life, your story, your worth, it doesn't end when they stop calling. You don't owe anyone your disappearance. I close my eyes. The sun is warm on my face. I hear the street, kids playing, dogs barking, life going on. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like part of it. Not the background, part of it. That's enough. If this story meant something to you, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know you're out there. At 83, I still need to know someone's listening. And if you want to read more about wills, about protecting yourself, about what I learned the hard way, the book's in the pinned comment. The Freedom Code. It's there if you need it. Take care of yourself, whatever that means to you.